The Republic of Paraguay is a landlocked country in South America. It is bordered by Argentina to the south and southwest, Brazil to the east and northwest, and Bolivia to the northwest. Paraguay lies on both banks of the Paraguay River. The Guarani have been living in Paraguay since before the arrival of Europeans in the 16th century, when Paraguay became part of the Spanish colonial empire. Following independence from Spain in 1811, Paraguay was ruled by a series of dictators. This development was truncated by the disastrous Paraguayan War, a war between 1864 and 1870, in which the country lost about 60% of its population and a large number of its territory. During a large part of the 20th century, Paraguay was ruled by Alfredo Stroessner, who was a general, who led one of the South America's longest-lived military dictatorship. In 1994, Paraguay joined Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay to found Mercosur. As of 2009, the population was estimated at 6.3 million. The capital and the largest city is Asunción. The official languages are Spanish and Guarani. Though it remains one of the region's poorest and least developed countries, in 2010, Paraguay's economy grew by 14.5%, the largest economic expansion in Latin America, and the third fastest in the world after Qatar and Singapore. By 2011, economic growth slowed but remained high at 6.4%. I want to talk now about the military coup that took place in 1989 and later developments. On February 1989, Stroessner was overthrown in a military coup headed by General Andres Rodriguez. So one military coup was toppled by another military coup. As president, Rodriguez instituted political, legal, and economic reforms and initiated a rapprochement with the international community. The June 1992 Constitution established a democratic system of government and dramatically improved protection of fundamental rights. In May 1993, the Colorado Party, which is the main right-wing party of Paraguay, candidate Juan Carlos Guasmolzi, was elected as Paraguayan's first civilian president in almost 40 years. Oviedo became the Colorado candidate for president in the 1998 elections. And when the Supreme Court upheld in April his conviction on charges related to the 1996 coup attempt, he was not allowed to run and remained in confinement. His former running mate, Raúl Cubas, became a Colorado's party candidate and was elected in the May elections. One of the Cubas' first acts after taking office in August was to commute Oviedo's sentence and release him from confinement. In December 1998, Paraguay's Supreme Court declared those actions anti-constitutional, and in a tense atmosphere, the vice president was murdered. So Oviedo's rival Luis María Argaña on March 23, 1999, led the Chamber of Deputies to impeach Cuba, and Cuba resigned. The March 26 murder of 8 students, anti-government demonstrators, widely believed to have been carried out by Oviedo supporters, made it clear that the Senate would vote to remove Cubas. Senate President Luis González Machi, Cuba's opponent, was peacefully sworn as a president the same day. In 2003, Nicanor Duarte Brutos was elected as president. For the 2008 elections, the Colorado Party was once again a favorite. This time their candidate was the Minister for Education, Blanca Oliver, the first woman to appear as a candidate for a major party in Paraguayan history. However, after 60 years of Colorado rule, voters chose a non-politician, former Roman Catholic Bishop Fernando Lugo. Although he was a long-time follower of the controversial liberation theology, he was backed by the center-right Liberal Party, the Colorado's party traditional opponents. Lugo was sworn in on August 15, 2008. But unlike other South American countries such as Venezuela, Ecuador, and Bolivia, Lugo's leftist agenda remained largely unimplemented. as the Paraguayan Congress continued to be dominated by the right-wing elected officials from the Colorado Party. Lugo jumped to the national arena by making peasant claims for better land distribution. Known as the Bishop of the Poor, Lugo was seen as the most serious threat to the dominance of the Colorado Party on Paraguayan politics. Although he said he found the presidents of Hugo Chavez in Venezuela interested, he made a point to distance himself from leftist leaders in Latin America, focusing more on social inequality in Paraguay. On October 29, 2007, he registered as a member of a small Christian Democratic Party of Paraguay, which allowed him to file as a candidate. The CDP became the core of the Patriotic Alliance for Change. On June 15, in Coup, near the Brazilian border, a dozen farmers and 6 policemen were killed during an attempted eviction of landless peasants occupying an area belonging to a major landowner in the country. The overwhelming vote against Lugo was only possible because the parliament is dominated by the right-wing Colorado, which in Spanish means Red Party. Lugo's allies have abandoned him in the days leading up to the impeachment. The class struggle in Paraguay is not the product of Lugo as an individual, but is instead caused by the extreme gap between the poor and the rich. According to the World Bank, an astounding 85% of the country's land, that is more than 70 million acres, is owned by 2% of the population. U.S. agribusiness giants like Cargill and Monsanto have extensive ownership of land and are spreading the cultivation of their transgenic crops of soy and corn across the country. A main protagonist of the coup, Aldo Socodillo, is owner of the influential right-wing newspaper ABC Color and is closely associated with Cargill and acts on his behalf. Paraguay is a landlocked country with only the Paraguay River as a water outlet. Because of the virtual monopoly of land ownership by the tiny minority with Cargill and Monsanto at the front, along with the Paraguayan oligarchy, the super-rich have more easily exercised power through loyal politicians to maximize their profit at the expense of the Paraguayan people. Although in his 4 years of administration, very few of Lugo's promises actually materialized, the mere suggestion of greater social justice and the heightened expectations among the people that his presidency brought was sufficient reason for the right wing to overthrow Lugo. WikiLeaks cables exposed Coup plans in 2009. The powerful land-based oligarchy that has dominated through fraudulent elections and martial law for decades was eager to get rid of Lugo since he was democratically elected in 2008. From 1954 to 1989, General Alfredo Straussen ruled by a permanent state of siege, and any opposition to his rule was met with severe repression. An outstanding set of U.S. embassy cables from Asunción, Paraguay in 2009, released by WikiLeaks, exposes the U.S. government's knowledge of plots to oust Lugo in order to reinstall the right-wing politicians who will favor the oligarchy. One such cable to the U.S. State Department dated March 2009 says, "Rumors persist that discredited General and UNACE Party leader Lino Oviedo and ex-president Nicanor Duarte Frutos are now working together to assume power via mostly legal means should President Lugo stumble in coming months. Their goal? Capitalize on any Lugo missteps to break the political deadlock in Congress, impeach Lugo, and assure their political supremacy." With the passing of 3 years since those plot plans were first formulated, the individuals have changed, but the powers that be remain in control. With Lugo's destitution, his vice president, Federico Franco, went along with the parliamentary coup and assumed the presidency of Paraguayan Senate's backing. He has assured the United States that the Paraguayan Senate will vote against the entry of Venezuela to Mercosur, the South Common Market with members Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. But his promises were stopped by the emerging cooperation in Latin America, seeking a path independent from Washington dictates. Brazil, Argentina, Cuba, and Uruguay recalled their ambassadors from Paraguay. On June 29, Mercosur, the South Common Market, temporarily suspended Paraguay's membership. In that gathering, Venezuela was also admitted as a full member to take effect on July 31st. Immediately afterwards, UNASUR, the South American Union of Nations, suspended Paraguay from membership. Brazil President Dilma Rousseff declared earlier, the Paraguayan right wing, the conservative sectors carried out a true coup, removing a president who was selected in a sovereign and democratic manner by the people. At a military parade in Caracas, Venezuela's President Hugo Chavez announced that it subsidized all shipments to Paraguay will be immediately stopped. The coup in Paraguay, as in Honduras 3 years ago, had common goals. Reversing the social achievements of progressive and liberal governments in Latin America, to destabilize the region, and if need be, facilitate direct military intervention by the United States. Even while the impeachment was still being carried out against Lugo, Paraguayan deputies were meeting with U.S. military officials to negotiate the installation of a military base in Chaco. Paraguay has geostrategic importance to the United States, since it bordered by Bolivia, Brazil, and Argentina, other countries the U.S. empire seeks to dominate. The class struggle is not an invention of Lugo. It is the direct result of the capitalist system based on the exploitation of labor. It is only through resistance and struggle that the Paraguayan people will define their future. I just want to add that a difference between what happened in Honduras 3 years ago and what happened in Paraguay just about a month ago is that the people in Honduras kind of forced Celada to join the resistance and fight against what had happened. And until this very day in Honduras, that struggle is taking place. People in Paraguay immediately went to the streets to support Lugo. However, it was Lugo, he was a priest, who actually, in order to avoid more confrontation, kind of pacified the people and asked his supporters not to demonstrate and not to go out to the streets. But again, it will be class struggle that solves the problems as well as in Honduras as in Paraguay or any other place in Latin America.